D. McClung, Ultra Monologues. That's where I talk and you don't. Think of it as radio. All right. This episode is episode 4, 2022. Already. Imagine that. I want you to understand that these episodes, this podcast, are spontaneous. I'm winging it. It's not scripted. I don't have it all written down in front of me here, so I can just read it off to you. It's as it comes out of my head, it goes out of my mouth. All right. Now that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing in a sense, because it means that I know what I'm talking about well enough to be able to articulate it in a stream of consciousness, in a stream of expression. That's not to say it's always, just exactly right. And sometimes I get a little off the non-script and kind of wander off into a different branch of the topic that I'm talking about. And I allow myself to get distracted by a thought. It's sort of like when you're writing it, you're thinking, you're writing, you stop, you pause, you rewrite, you go backwards, and so on. And these podcasts are not done like that. I can pause the recording, but I can't edit it. Now, I could, but I haven't figured out how to use that app. Negligence on my part. However, I haven't really had a problem with that up to now. So just bear that in mind. So if I make a little flub up or a little slip of the tongue or something of that nature when I'm talking, it's because it's spontaneous. And so things happen. And there's no 5-second delay that I can, hit the pause button before it gets on the recording. So anyway, spontaneous. You can call it spontaneous combustion sometimes. All right. So what I want to say here is this is just a casual show today. I'm just going to express a thought or two about some things. Maybe one thing, depends on how far I go here. I might just limit this to a 15 or 20-minute segment. All right, so here's the thing. And a further note, by the way, the humming noise you hear in the background is my heater, because it's like 20 degrees outside right now. It's cold. And so I gotta keep the studio warm enough to, be comfortable. And so, that's the heater. And I wish I could turn it off, but I'm not going to do that, because the heat would fall and it would be in the 60s in here and it would be cold. And I don't like the cold. I hate the cold. And like when you're outside, when I'm outside in the summer, it's like, oh yeah, just very comfortable. I can deal with that. It doesn't hurt to be hot. It might be uncomfortable. It might be a little bit awkward when it's 95 degrees and you have to go out and walk around in the sun. Humidity might be a problem and causes little, breathing problems and so forth. However, if you're at the beach and it's 95 degrees in the sun and you're out playing in the pool or on the water, on the ocean, on the sand, you kind of figure, hey, this is not too bad. I can tolerate this. But if you're like at the house here and going around outside the yard and trying to do a little something, like, yeah, it's a little bit unbearable. So you don't have that moisture that comes with the ocean, though you might have a high humidity rate. So anyway, the thing is, I prefer being outside. I prefer working in the yard and working on various projects outside. I would take an inside project and take it outside and put it on the outside workbench to work outside just because I enjoy being outside. But when it's 20 degrees, and of course now it's dark, so not going to be doing that. So at any rate, that's the hum in the background is the heater, and it'll probably run the whole time. All right, I would like to express some thoughts on the human condition, the current atmosphere in America. It's a big subject, but let's just kind of keep it personal. Things are crazy. They're just crazy. We've got people that are on the one side of all this conspiracy theory craziness, and Trump won the election, and the election was fraudulent and mass fraud and all that stuff. It truly boggles my mind that all these people in America, not all Americans, but all the people that are on social media and so on, are just saying crazy shit. And they just keep doing it. Day after day after day after day. And there are millions upon millions of people on social media. And then there's a lot of social media. There's Facebook and YouTube, and I guess YouTube's not really well, maybe it is a social media. You've got Gab, you've got Getter, you've got all of the different social media websites, and Twitter, and so on. And people just keep posting stuff. And I could tell you, I could spend every minute of every waking hour sitting in front of my computer. I don't have an iPhone or iPad or whatever the hell they are. I just don't have that. It doesn't work for me. The situation doesn't allow me to carry around a little phone in my hand wherever I go and, do the texting and stuff with my thumbs. I just don't do that sort of thing. A lot of people do. At any rate, I think it's just mind-boggling that we have all of these people with all of these opinions, and they keep spouting these opinions, and I have a right to my opinion. And maybe you do, and maybe you don't. Won't get into that, but if you're just going to express an opinion that's based on lies, bullshit, then, do you really have a right to clutter up the internet with that crap? Like calling everybody a pedophile and shit. You don't even know what the word pedophile means, obviously. Or you've been brainwashed, or rather, I like to say, indoctrinated, manipulated, and duped, and conditioned to believe that the word pedophile means something it doesn't. And you also think, oh, gee whiz, you're a pedophile, we ought to throw you in the wood chipper. And, it's just hatred or something. It's basically like hating witches. We hate the witches, we ought to burn them at the stake. Same thing, pretty much. And, there weren't any such thing as witches. Come on, let's get real. So it just boggles my mind with all of these people, all of them, saying stuff that they've heard on the internet, not stuff that came out of their original thinking, nothing that came from critical thinking at all. It's just bullshit they heard somewhere. It's gossip. And they spread this gossip as if it's God's honest truth. And it's not at all true. it's just total absurdity. Some of it is just wrong. It's so Bob Saget died the other day. We don't know how he died or why he died. Might have had heart failure. Might have been, there might be reasons. We don't know yet. By all indications, the man was going back on the road. He was doing stand-up comedy. He was presenting a good show. He was making people laugh. He was a good guy. He's got kids and so on. He had family, and you know, he was happy. But then, bam, he's dead, 65 years old. Which shows you it could happen any minute. You, however old you may be, bam, tomorrow you're gone. Could be any number of reasons. You could develop, cancer. You should get pneumonia from some reason. You might get, hit by a truck. A plane might crash out of the sky into your head, splatter you on the ground. Any number of things could happen. You could get COVID and wind up in the hospital and freaking die. You could get the vaccine and have a bad reaction. And yes, some people have bad reactions to the vaccine, if it's called a vaccine. It may not be a vaccine. Doesn't behave like a vaccine as far as I know, but let's just go with the word for now. The thing is, you can be dead tomorrow, driving down the road, bam, truck hits you. You can be sleeping and just, your heart just says, you're done, stop, you're dead. And your family finds you in bed in the morning, dead, cold, hard, and dead. Now you think, well, you're 20 years old. No, it's not me. Well, yeah, but it does happen. Young folks are a little bit invincible, like, I'm 20, I got lots of time. I'm good, and I'm young, and I'm strong, and I'm healthy, and I'm going to live forever. And then next thing you know, you're 74 years old. If you're lucky to be 74, you could have died when you were 10, 15, 30, 40, 60. Anytime. Bob Saget, 65, gone. I hope they tell us why he died, for sure, because now I'm curious. But here's the thing. Some idiot comes on there and says, I was a pedophile. Like, what the fuck? Seriously? Everybody. Bill Carter, Jimmy Carter, the president, Jimmy Carter, that nice guy. That nice little old guy that's like 150 years old or something and helped build houses for people. And really? Who would believe that? Who would even have the balls to actually post something like that on the internet? Seriously, that's just stupid. So what I'm saying is, let's ruin Bob Saget. Why? What the hell did Bob Saget ever do to you that you want to ruin him and tarnish his good name after he's dead? Not that they wait till you die anymore. Now they'll call you a pervert or something, if you're 15 years old. Or 17 or 18 or 20 or 30 or 60. They don't care. They're just heartless, cold bastards. And they just ruin people because this is what bothers me. How can it ruin you that people would say something like, you're a pedophile, you're a pervert, or whatever? Simply because, why? Why would they do that? They don't know you. It's not like they're your friend or your family or even your neighbor. It's just somebody you know of, some celebrity that's like famous for some reason. He did a movie on a TV show or something. I mean, he's living his life. and doing his job, taking care of his family, doing what he has to do. Didn't do anything wrong. And yet you find it necessary to tarnish that man's name and reputation. And if he was alive, tarnishing his person, slander and stuff, libel, defamation. Because why? Because you're just evil people. Not you, not the person listening to this, necessarily. The people that should listen to this show don't. That's just too bad. At any rate, the thing is, it's just a pointless exercise in bad. Just totally bad. Leave people the fuck alone. Don't be going around spreading rumors and gossip and bullshit and lies about people you don't even know. They don't bother you. They've never bothered you. Why would you give a damn? Why? I don't understand you people that do that. It's just wrong. And Jimmy Carter, really, people? Oh, and, let's take another guy. Joe Biden, who happens to be president of the United States of America. And he won the election. And that's the way it works in America. You vote, you get, guy gets elected. How did Joe Biden win the election? Oh, no. He got more votes than the other guy. I think the answer to your question is obvious. But it was a rigged election. Yeah, well, no, it wasn't. And if you believe it was, you're an idiot. You shouldn't be voting. Sorry. You're too stupid to vote. You're too irresponsible to vote. And you shouldn't be. But freedom. The will of the people. By the way, the will of the people, yeah, if right now I don't trust the will of the people because there are just too many people with the will to turn this country into a theocracy, a dictatorship. And yeah, if you want to go on the other side and say, well, maybe a socialism thing, whatever. Yeah, really? All right. Why? That's as absurd as saying, I want everybody in America to believe the world is flat. Why? Why would you believe that nonsense? And why would you want everybody in this country to believe that nonsense? What kind of backward thinking Neanderthal are you that you actually think that's true and that you want everybody? See, there's the problem. There's the thing. You want everybody to think that way. What the hell? It boggles the mind. It's a catchphrase for this episode. It boggles the mind. Jimmy Carter. Really? Joe Biden is not a pedophile. Now, let's say I can't say that for sure because I don't know what he's done in his 78 years. I have no idea what the man's been doing all those years, except when he's actually done something in public where it's been recorded, like, when he was vice president, when he was making a speech, or when he was doing vice president jobs, or when he was a senator or whatever, doing that job. Public record. And you can count on public record most of the time, probably. Not that hasn't been tampered with at some point. The point is, you think there's something wrong with people just because they're affectionate? Now, let me tell you something. Back when I was a kid, if you were affectionate, that was a good thing. And I had relatives that were affectionate. I had some that weren't, but I had some that were. And they liked to touch. They liked to hold you. They liked to cuddle you. They liked to give you a kiss on the cheek. or the forehead, or pinch your little cheeks like your aunt, what's her name, would do. Like, oh, he's just so cute, you know. And I didn't like that because that hurt kind of, and they weren't gentle enough, and so you know they got close. So what? He's a pervert. Really? Just because your aunt or your uncle was friendly, or your grandfather was friendly? My grandfather, one of my grandfathers, when I was about 3 or 4 or 5 years old, maybe, I don't know, somewhere in there, and we lived at a place and we had a potbelly stove to heat the place up with. Like, yeah, it was kind of cool in the winter. So he'd help me put my pajamas on. I'd go out and stand by the fire. He'd sit in his rocking chair, add my pajamas, and I put the pajamas up in front of the heater a little bit to kind of warm the pajamas up. And, you know, I'd take off my clothes and I'd put on my pajamas. Standing there in the living room with Grandpa, who was about 70 years old. That man was beyond any kind of badness at all. He was a preacher, shall we call him? A preacher, a reverend, a pastor, a preacher. In those days, he was a preacher. What we called him. Good guy. And a carpenter. Because, you know, people needed carpentry work done, and he was available, and he knew how to do it. So that's how he did it. It made some money. Because being a preacher isn't that lucrative back then. Wasn't like he had his own mega church or something. He was just a guy that he visited churches around. I don't think he was ever a regular at any given church. Maybe. I don't remember. Before my time anyway. But he was a good guy, and I trusted him, and he didn't bother me. He didn't cause me any grief. I wasn't traumatized because my grandfather saw me naked when I put on my pajamas. I mean, seriously. If someone was to besmirch my grandfather's good name and character reputation, it would have to be a lie, because no, didn't happen. He was a good guy. And he died, 71 years old, and I was just a kid, about 4 years old. And I didn't understand that. It's like the first person to die in my family, and I was just shocked. And now what? I mean, who's going to help me with my pajamas? Very sad. So I was traumatized by the fact that my grandfather died, not from the fact that I was like standing in there by the potbelly stove, standing and facing the potbelly stove. Your front was warm, your back was cold. You turn around, and your back got warm, and your front was cold. And, you know, there was no compromise there. You know, you just had to keep turning around. And anyway, there I was, and Grandpa in the living room, and I guess Grandma was around somewhere. I guess my mom and dad was around somewhere. They were around. I mean, seriously. It wasn't like I didn't have parents. They were there. They were being parents. They were doing what they had to do, working at their jobs and so forth. But, you know, Grandma and Grandpa was in charge of taking care of me in the evenings sometimes. All right. I have no doubt that my grandfather was fond of me. And I would say that my grandfather might have given me a hug and a kiss as he sent me off to bed and tucked me in. No doubt whatsoever. Good guy. And I missed him. And I miss him now, to be honest with you. And that's been almost 70 years ago. In fact, I'm just a little bit older than he was when he died. All right. So the point here is affection. I have no doubt that Joe Biden is a man who likes to be affectionate. He likes to touch people and hug them and maybe kiss them. Yeah. Well, sometimes that might be a little inappropriate. I don't think I've ever heard any stories about Joe Biden raping anybody. No evidence that that has ever happened. And you think it would have happened? You think someone would have said something? But nope, not a word. And he's been a politician all of his life, pretty much. And I think politicians are pretty skanky sometimes. I'm not going to use Bill Clinton there. But, I mean, Bill Clinton did his thing, and so, not my problem. No effect on me, had nothing to do with me, or you, or any of the other millions of people live in this country. Whatever Bill Clinton did is between him and his wife and his conscience. Nobody else's business. But he lied. Yeah, well, he lied. Shouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have done that. If someone says to me, did you have sex with that woman? I'd say, none of your fucking business. End of story. Not discussing this further. So you did. Without proof, without me admitting it, it's not true. Doesn't matter. It's none of your business. You're not my wife. You're not my kids. You're not my mother. Doesn't matter. None of your business. And that's the part that bugs me. Everything is everybody's business these days. I guess because it's the public is right there in your face on the internet, social media and stuff. Like, I really don't know these people. I mean, I have access to all kinds of people, probably millions of people on the internet. And you know what? I don't know them. I don't live with them. I've never seen them in person. I don't know who they are, what they look like, some of them. I mean, they don't put their pictures up there, which opposed to me, which I do. I've got naked pictures of myself on the internet and have for the last 20 years. So, big deal. Has it hurt anybody? Has it hurt me? Has it hurt anybody at all? Nope. You know why? Because there's nothing wrong with it. Everybody's got a body, and everybody's naked somewhere, sometime. And, by the way, you're naked under your clothes. It's not like nobody knows what you look like. I mean, you can kind of hide your fat belly a little bit by wearing a loose shirt. But the fact of the matter is, you are what you are. Male or female. Or one of those third kind. I don't know what I am. I think I'm different than I'm real. I mean, I look down and see I got a junk. And that means I'm a boy. I know, transgender and transsexual, whatever it is the word, they want to be the opposite of what they are. That's weird. I mean, I know it's true and it's real and there they are, but why? I don't understand. Anyway, but it's not a bad thing. It's whatever they want. That's what they want to be. Oh, and Epstein's pedophile island. By the way, there's no evidence that I've seen ever that says that any teenager, any children were actually involved. Because, guess what? Adolescents are not children. That's not a debatable issue. That is a fact. Biological fact. Not open for discussion. And yet these people on the internet are like, we got to talk and argue. And get nasty and call you bad names and shit. That's stupid. I'm sorry. And when I say that person who just, you're that, if I call you stupid, you're stupid. End of story. You're done. I have the power to say that because, free speech. But I also have the right and responsibility of living up to the fact. And oh, by the way, if you're not stupid, prove me wrong. And how are you going to do that? By not saying stupid shit on the fucking internet. I mean, for crying out loud. And then some idiot comes along and says, oh, but you say stupid shit too. Well, that's their perspective, isn't it? How do you deal with that? How do you deal with the fact that I think they're stupid and they think I'm stupid? When the fact is I'm not stupid, So maybe they're not stupid either. Oh, wait a minute. They did say something stupid. Yeah, the world's flat. Or everybody in the world's a pedophile. Well, that's pretty close because every man ever lived, ever, past the age of about 12, has wanted to have sex with teenagers. Because they want to have sex with, people their own age, because that's when they first realize, oh, look at my dick. Look at it. Whoa. Ooh, it feels good. I want to do that one. And, they want to have someone that's like young and attractive and sexy and fertile, because that's human nature. I want to have sex to reproduce because that's what humans do. That's the purpose of their existence. Like the bugs and the birds and the bees and the animals and the cows and the horses. Why do they exist? Reproduce. That's their job. Reproduce and die. That's it. That's the biological, factual reason to exist. And why do we take that fact of human biological truth and want to turn it into something bad? How can you? That's just absurd. I can give you examples. I'm a human. I like to breathe. Breathing is awesome. It's a sin. Really? I haven't heard anybody say breathing was a sin, but, that's what it sounds like when you tell me, oh, you shouldn't be having sex. It's a sin or something. Seriously, that's just absurd. I like to eat food because, you know why? I don't die from starvation. Yeah, eating food. It's necessary. It's what we do as humans. As animals, we got to put nourishment in our bodies. It's necessary or we die. So let's have sex. Oh, no, you can't have sex. That's terrible. That's disgusting. That's perverted and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, well, no, because that's normal. That's what everybody does. Yeah, but you're trying to make it seem like homosexuals are normal. Well, they may not be normal, but they are, in reality, they exist. They do, and they're real. But witches, no. Witches are not real. No such thing as witches. I know that people pretend. They like to dress up and play pretend. That's like, everybody likes to do that because it's a little fantasy world, little like pretend world, like, oh, I'm going to be a pirate. Yeah. I would say there's not anything like real pirates like in the old days, with the eye patch and the wooden leg and all that. Maybe not today, but, pirates existed, but they, generally speaking, that romanticized version of being a pirate just doesn't exist anymore. Oh, I'm going to be Superman. I'm going to put a towel on my shirt there, and I'm going to fly, and I'm going to be strong as steel, and I'm Superman. No, you're just pretending. You're not really Superman. No such creature. It's a freaking cartoon, a comic books character. You follow me? All right, you're a pedophile. Oh, well, no, I'm not. But let's just play devil's advocate for a second. What if I was? One, none of your business. None of your business. If I was. And the fact of the matter is, if I was, you would never know it. Because I'm not going to go around saying it. What kind of pedophile actually goes around saying he's a pedophile? I mean, that's just stupid. Really? Stupid. Why is that stupid? Because people hate you because they don't understand. They don't understand what's going on. They don't like it because they think it's hurting children when it's not. Because, being something isn't killing anybody. Just because you are something doesn't mean you're doing something. Like if you're a bank robber, then it's probably because you rob banks. If you're homosexual, it's probably because you're homosexual. You rape people of your own gender? Probably not. Oh, by the way, how many pedophiles are there that rape children? How many? All right, 0.009. I think that's a little bit right. It's 0.0, okay, 99.08. So it's something like less than half of 1% of pedophiles actually rape somebody. How many straight people, like straight men, who are not anything like a pedophile, actually rape people that are not grown-ups? Yeah. So what I'm saying is, most of the rapes of children is done by people who are not pedophiles. It's done by regular, normal, I hate to say normal, irresponsible, disgusting people who are not pedophiles. I'm not sexually attracted to children. That's under 12, by the way. But, she was there. So, and I was horny. So I'm a disgusting, irresponsible, have no conscience, kind of a disgusting human being. And I'm going to rape that 10-year-old. Because there she is. And, otherwise, if he could have got an adult woman, he would have, raped her instead. But, kid was there instead. That's not a pedophile. That's a person who is just a rapist. Rapists. Being a pedophile doesn't mean you raped anybody. Being a pedophile doesn't mean you did anything wrong to anyone. Ever. Oh, by the way, I'm not a pedophile. But if I was, I wouldn't rape anybody. Because I'm not a pedophile. I'm a regular male human being. And you know what? I've never raped anybody being a regular, normal, straight guy. So there must be a reason. The reason is because just because you are something doesn't mean you do bad things. There used to be a thing going around when I was younger. There used to be, homosexuals, they rape little boys. I have not found any evidence to support that. So I say that's not true. And then there's words like grooming, which of course has no place whatsoever to do with anything. I mean, that's, grooming used to be called seduction. And seduction is what every human being does when they want to mate. Like, I'm going to seduce that girl and she's going to love me and we're going to get married and have kids and a family and be happy ever after. Perfectly normal thing to do. Oh, but you're going to groom. You see, they just make up shit like grooming means something it doesn't mean because words mean what they mean. And that's true. That's just true. That's just absurd that people would even argue about that. All right, here's the thing. The thing that bothers me is that when you say something and other people, instead of acknowledging the facts that you just said, will argue with you and say that you're stupid because, yeah, it's not true, because I heard that, blah, blah, blah happened. When the fact is you're wrong and it didn't happen and I told you the truth. I'm not going to believe you because you're right. And then there are people that want to come up. I heard this today on the internet. Someone said to me, if you disagree with me, you're guilty. Like, huh? What? So basically, that's a fallacy. That's the fallacy of you're guilty because you disagree with me. There's another name for it. I don't remember what it is right now. The point is, you just effectively shut down any argument against what you said. You basically said, I'm going to have the last word. And if you argue with me, if you try to disagree with me at all in any way, shape, or form and correct me and set me straight on my lies and, give me some truth, then you're guilty of being, whatever. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's not going to cut it. That's just wrong. the "you're guilty if you disagree with me" fallacy, for the lack of a better word. All right. Did I make any sense to you at all? Did any of what I've said in the last 40 minutes, get through to you? And do you get it? You understand? You understand what I'm getting at? I'm going to have to continue this line of thinking into another episode because I ran out of time here. Yeah, I've only got so many minutes to work with per episode. All right, so leave it there. And if you're if you're like on YouTube and there's a comment section, if you have a legitimate question and you're serious, you want to ask a question, ask in the comments. I will tell you. I will try to answer your question. If you're going to criticize me and call me names and shit like that, no, that's acceptable. And if you do that, I will delete you, and you're gone. Your history. Not going to happen. Okay? So keep it civilized. Be civil. But ask your question. I don't care. If it has to do with the subject that I'm talking about here on this episode or any other episode that I posted. I've made over 300 episodes, by the way. Have a question? Ask me. I'll do my best to answer it. All right. D. McClung, Art of Monologues. Catch you next time.